Hey everyone, welcome back. Blades of God here from Hammer Bros Gaming, going over another Dead Space achievement guide. Today, we're hitting Chapter 10 of Dead Space on the Impossible difficulty, trying to get the Epic Tier 3 Engineer achievement. If you've seen any of the guides, the previous guides in this series, you know that I'm not going to be going over a lot of the basic mechanics of the game. Rather, this is a guide on item management, or inventory management I should say, different encounters, combat strategies, and just tips and tricks on how to get through the level on a challenging but not impossible, as the name implies, difficulty. So let's dive right into it. Right at the start of Chapter 10, you're going to get off the tram, you're going to come down these stairs and see a room full of bodies. You're going to want to take your time, just like I'm doing here, go through and just stomp on all the arms and legs, because we're going to come back through here at one point and there is going to be a infecting form or a transforming form that it will turn all of these into enemies. So you're just going to save yourself a lot of headache by taking a few minutes and stomping all of them to pieces. After that, you're going to come through the door on the right. There's going to be a few items. Oh, and I should have said you want to check that room for items, because there's quite a few things scattered around the floor. But once you've cleaned up all the items and cleaned up all the bodies, you're going to come through the door on the right and just kind of follow this path into this locker room for the 0G basketball. There's a locker that's open and a wall safe that you can check, and you can come into this room here and actually do the 0G basketball if you want. Definitely not necessary, but I would at least come in here and grab the med pack. There's always at least one item in here. If you decide to do it or not, once you exit, you're going to see that you do need to go in there and grab one of the objectives, one of the nav markers. But once you get it, turn around and head back out, you're going to get jumped by a improved or a stronger necromorph, and then we're just going to backtrack. This level is fairly long. I'd say it's probably the longest level of the game, but it's a lot of walking. There's a lot of empty rooms that you have to traverse through. So here's that transforming form, or the infecting form. Apparently I did miss one body, and he transformed it, but it could have been a lot worse. You could have been fighting a lot of enemies in this room. So you do give up the items that you would get, but you are going to soak up or use up a lot of ammunition and health packs trying to get through here. So my advice is, like I said, stomp on the bodies, save yourself the headache, and just skip the fight. So if you have to visit the store, go ahead, visit the store. But once you're done, head up the elevator in the room, and you're going to see a save point, and you're going to see a bench. You can stop at the bench if you need to. If you don't, just advance right on through. You can see here I actually backtracked. I checked my inventory. I saw I was out of stasis and I only had one stasis pack on me. So I come back to the store, grab the stasis pack out of my safe, and just sell off anything that I had in my inventory because, well, I was at the store, so might as well free up a little bit of room. I grab an extra power node, and this is a good time to remind everybody that when I'm playing this game, I always keep one power node on my person. So as you can see, I have two power nodes I could spend right here. I only use one of them, so I have one left in my inventory, and this is so I can access any of the supply rooms that require a power node to get into. Power nodes are expensive to buy, and they're not very frequent to find in the game as an item, but if you use one to get access to a supply room, usually the amount of stuff in there is well worth the investment. So, as you can see now, we're in this hallway, kind of a cutscene or a non-interactive game piece where you just have to watch a guy get killed. There's all of this growth on the floor that makes you walk slowly, so just be mindful of that. It's going to be slow going through here. You can see a little bit of an overlook. You can look down to the bottom floor there, and you can pick off some of the parts of Snake Man down there if you want, if you have the ammo and feel like taking the time to do that. I stomp on that body just because I couldn't remember if there's a infecting form that comes through here or not. Somehow one of these snake parts end up getting up into the top floor. I don't know how that happened, but it almost killed me. I was a little surprised by that, a little jumped. I also realized that I hadn't used my stasis yet. But anyway, once you're ready, head down this elevator, and you're going to see two of these, what I call snake men. Again, I know that's not their real name. We covered this in a previous video, but this is what I call them. And I kind of panicked because they backed me into a corner, so I used stasis. Very glad that I refilled it before I came down here. And I just go to town on them. I decided, well, they're both stasis, so I'm just going to melee them until they fall apart, which they do. And then I have all the pieces that are still stasis, so I start picking them off one at a time. I hit him with another blast of stasis to buy myself some time, but I realized I can't tell which ones are dead and which ones are just really moving slowly. So I just start shooting at him. I see that one twitch, I know that one died. I see that head moving, so I decide I can take him out. Yep, he's dead. And then I see the chairs moving back there, so I know there's at least one back there that's coming for me. And I saw something over behind the counter move, so I knew there was one more piece back there, which I have a little bit of a hard time hitting because I didn't change to a vertical mode. I was shooting it horizontal with my plasma cutter. So always be mindful of which orientation your plasma cutter's in, because it can make things a lot easier for you. Once you have all these enemies cleaned up, we are going to kind of just search around the outside of the room. There's a couple of boxes that you can grab. The most important thing is a power node on the back wall. And then once you've cleaned up everything, you're sure you got all your items, head back up the elevator and just continue to backtrack to the room, the hallway with all the growth in it. You're going to get contacted via your comm link about basically he's basically telling you just to do what you're already doing. So then we're going to come through this door. This fight really gave me a hard time for some reason. It's just one of those wall-hugging enemies that produces the pods, but because there's not a lot of cover in here except for this little hallway that you came out of where the door is, I struggled maintaining or keeping the pods knocked down and having enough time to cut the actual main enemy's limbs off. You can see I'm sort of trying to pick off one of the arms at a time between knocking down the pod's tentacles, and then I advanced too far. Don't do what I did. I got too close and I spawned in this necromorph who charged me. Thankfully I had stasis available, so I just hit him with stasis, sidestepped him, and then took him out. He was probably a little surprised because he leaped and then I hit him midair with the stasis, but anyway, unfortunately that gave the wall hugger time to spawn 3 more pods, which decided to shoot at, or 4 more pods decided to shoot at me. And as you can see, those enemies are weak, but their attack, if it hits you, does a lot of damage. I've been hit twice and I'm down to half health, and I'm pretty sure I have my HP maxed at this point. So take your time, just kind of strafe side to side like you see I'm doing here. The projectile attacks are very slow, so you should have plenty of time to sidestep them. I know I got hit twice because I just wasn't paying attention, and for whatever reason I know that I'm hitting that tentacle that's up on the arm, but it's not cutting. So I close in and say, well, let me try vertical orientation instead of horizontal, because I know those 2 were hits. Still wasn't cutting, and then finally it cut and that thing died, but not until after it spawned 1 more pod to try to get a parting shot at me. So once you finally deal with that encounter, go ahead and turn around, check behind you. There's a couple items on the ground, a couple items down here by the enemy himself. Go into this bathroom, check the wall locker. Not a lot in there, but we're on impossible difficulty, so every little bit's going to help. Then we jump in the elevator right next to the wall-hugging pod spawner. Go up, grab this item out of the wall safe, and now we're into this kind of square room with a depression in the middle. Again, if you're following your waypoint indicator, then you know this is where you're supposed to go. When you come into this room, get ready for another giant arm to grab you. I switched to my pulse rifle because I like the DPS on it. It's a lot faster, a lot higher than the plasma cutter. So it's just like we fought one earlier in the game. You got to hit that glowing yellow spot, but your controls are all thrown out of whack because you're laying on your back rather than standing up, and you're aiming down at your feet. So it's a very, very confusing, disorienting section of the game. As you can see, I got pretty close to the kill spot there. I think I had 2 or 3 pulls before I would have been killed. But just aim for that yellow spot. The reason I use a pulse rifle is I can just hold on to the trigger and just keep shooting at the thing. And if I happen to trace over the yellow spot, it'll do damage. So anyway, once that's done, you're going to backtrack towards where you came in. There's a room that you can go into to activate life support. And then once you activate life support, you're actually going to come back into the room where the giant arm was, and you're going to have a necromorph, more powerful necromorph come at you. Handle it the same way we've been handling them. Shoot him in the legs, use whichever weapon you have ammo for. Once he's down, it'll slow him down considerably. Then just aim for the arms. Short controlled bursts if you're using the pulse rifle to maintain conserve ammunition, and just take him down the way you've been taking him down. You can see that I had 2 small med packs, so I decided to use those to top off my health. As a rule, I always use my small med packs first to save my big med packs, either the medium or the large, for emergency situations. So that's just a personal preference. You don't have to do it that way, but that's what I do. So once we deal with that room, we're going to continue on, follow our waypoint indicators, and it's going to bring us into this room that has no oxygen. The oxygen's been vented out of it. Once you come through the room, there's going to be 3 enemies. You can see 2 of them there. It's a standard necromorph in a carrier form. I hit him with a stasis blast because that carrier form, if you kill it without it being, or if you damage it too much without killing it fast enough, if that makes sense, it will spawn a swarm of flippers when it dies. And then right over here by the air tank is the 3rd enemy in this room. He was playing possum on me, and I kind of forgot to check that with a shot. Usually if I see a necromorph lying on the ground, I always put a couple of rounds into it to see if he jumps up and attacks me. I forgot to do that with him, but worked out okay. Remember where that air can is. We're going to spend a little bit of time in here, so we want to make sure that we can top off our oxygen whenever we need to. I have put a few points, or a few power nodes into my rig for oxygen, so I have a little bit more time. Certainly not necessary, because you can hit that oxygen can as many times as you need to maintain your oxygen. But before we come into this room, you saw I went over to the left there and hit those 2 rooms for a few extra supplies. Make sure you do that. Again, not totally necessary, but it never hurts to have extra credits, extra ammo, or extra med packs. So once we're satisfied that the other rooms are cleaned up, we are going to head or follow our waypoint indicator into this room with a bunch of bunk beds. It looks like a bunk room. You're going to walk in, there's going to be a lurker on the, might be on the ceiling, might be on the floor. Mine was on the ceiling. This little nook has a box that you can break, and then you have a second lurker to deal with. Again, you want to shoot the tentacles when they pop out of their back. I got a little fed up with it and just said, screw it, I'm going to unload on his face with this pulse rifle until he dies. And then the last enemy in this room is, well, I'd say it's a carrier form, but it's kind of like half a carrier form since he's missing his legs. Again, I hit him with stasis, took out his arms quick enough that he didn't spawn his flipper form. Make sure you're checking your enemies, your defeated enemies, for items or credits or anything like that. It's pretty standard for most games like this. You see I doubled back to hit the oxygen can one more time and then continued on down the line here. Right before you get to the exit of the room, you're going to have one of these really fast necromorphs, the tweaker necromorphs, drop in on you. You can see that the game wanted me to go that way, but I said, nope, there's a room over here I want to explore first. Happy I did, because there's a power node in a blue box that you're going to want to grab. Now we're back into our main room that we came into the first time we got to this area, and we are done. So we're backtracking at this point. We are in a room now that has oxygen. Don't need to worry about controlling our oxygen timer. So I'm just backtracking and see a room that has some more goodies in it that the waypoint didn't bring me here, so I wanted to check it just to make sure I wasn't missing out on anything. Topped off my health and my stasis because I thought there was a fight here. I would have sworn that I got jumped in this room. Turns out I got it confused with the room later on in the level, but we'll get to that later. So, we're just backtracking, we're continuing, we're going up the elevator now that we went up. Don't worry about that jump scare, they don't actually jump you here. Through the big double doors, now we're in the hallway where we saw the unskippable cutscene where the guy got stabbed in the eye. You're going to have a couple of walking grenades pop out of the wall on the right, and then some snake parts come down the hallway at you. So, do what you want to do. I was trying to time it up so the explosion from the walking grenade would kill the snake man or snake parts as well. You can see that one was just pushing some dead debris along with it. But it didn't work out that way, so not a big deal. They're not difficult enemies. They're 1 or 2 shots apiece to take them down. You can always use stasis if you're getting a little crowded, but didn't have to there. So we're continuing down the path. You can see I keep looking behind me because I keep anticipating or I keep feeling like I'm going to get jumped by something, but I never do. So, bunch of worry for nothing. I visit the bench. I had 3 nodes, spent 1, realized, oh, I had 3, not 2. So I go back in, max out my stasis module, and still have 1 in my inventory for any of those rooms that we come across that require a power node to get into. Back down the elevator. I stop at the store to offload anything that I don't need, like any ammo that's not compatible with the weapons I'm using, or extra stasis packs, oxygen cans, or semiconductors. So anything that you have like that in your inventory, make sure you always sell it off when you get to a store because you're going to want that inventory space. Alright, so now we're heading back into the room right next to the store, the door right next to the store that brought us towards the 0G basketball. You could see that a necromorph came in, but we're actually going to take the elevator on the left. Then you can see my recording software died on me at this point, so I had to pause my game and relaunch a new set of software. My aspect ratio changed a little bit, my volume changed. I tried to fix it while I was editing this video together, so I do apologize for that, but I promise you this is still me playing, it's still 100% my gameplay footage. But so we're into the room with this giant projector screen. There's a couple of pods on the ground that have the distance attack at you that usually come from a wall hugger. I have no idea why they're just randomly in here, but take them out. There's 3 of them. One shot to the tentacle out in their back will take them out. There's a bathroom in here over on this side of the room that you can check for a few supplies. I keep anticipating that every time I go through a door I'm going to get jumped. That's why you always see me pull out my gun. So now we're into this room that has the kinesis movable bunk beds. You can see I'm just going to show you how to get through this part. It's not very difficult. Just a little bit of a logic puzzle, movement puzzle. I have a bit of a hard time grabbing onto that bunk with my kinesis for some reason. There's a few items in boxes and on the ground. Make sure you grab those. We're going to follow the bloodstains, find this crazy cackling woman who eventually kills herself. Make sure you grab all the items in here, and then the last objective, the last navigation node or chip or whatever is back here in the corner along with a med pack. And now we're going to backtrack again. Once you walk through here, you're going to get jumped, or you're going to have a more powerful necromorph drop in behind you. Take him out like you normally do, but get ready because our friend, the unkillable regenerating necromorph, is about to come back. And I had a genius plan that I was trying to do at this point, but it didn't work out very well. My thought was, well, I knew he was going to drop in right here. He does. So I wanted to cut off his legs, have him crawl into these bunks, or this bunk bed area. Then I was going to stasis him and then close the bunk beds behind him, thinking, well, there's no vent right above me, so I don't think he could escape there. However, I never opened up the bunks enough, so he couldn't crawl through. He just kind of sat there. So I took off his other arm and his other leg, tried to run by him, realized, oh, you're blocking my path, I can't get through here. Opened the door a little bit more and realized that I now had to try to get him in here and fight him close quarters. So I'm waiting for him to regenerate, standing off to the side so he could come in. I kind of got a little confused as to why he wasn't coming in. He got really close to me. But I take off one of his legs, decide to run out the door. I didn't even stasis him, and I saw that room. It's like, oh, that's one of those rooms that I can use a power node to get into. So I stasis the regenerator, pop in here. There is a ton of ammo on the ground. I have enough room in my inventory to take it all. Open the door. I notice that the regenerator is regenerating, so I don't bother shooting him again. As soon as you come through this door, this room gave me a lot of trouble. I panicked here. I nearly died. There was a lurker, a more powerful lurker, and a more powerful necromorph on the ground. And if that wasn't enough, the regenerator followed me in here. So I ran to this bathroom thinking I could use it just to hold them off, and, well, it still almost went really bad. Thankfully, I had enough stasis that I could stasis both the regenerator and the necromorph. Thankfully, the lurker doesn't really travel through the vents, so I didn't have to worry about him. But there he is. He's still waiting for me, and I'm panicking right now. I could have healed up more, but I didn't. And I see him up on the ceiling. I say, you know what? I'm not going to wait for you to pop out your tentacles. I start shooting at him. He jumps to the ground, pops his tentacles out, and I don't think I chopped off a single tentacle. I just shot him full on in the face. And the tricky part about this room is that you actually have to wait for, I can't remember her name, but the person who talks to you through your comm link to override the lockdown. So you're basically in like a horde scenario where they're going to continuously come at you, or enemies are going to continuously come at you, and you have to just hold out long enough to get through. You can see I am on 1 bar of health. Like, if I get sneezed on, I was going to die right there, and I still wasn't healing because I was worried about keeping the necromorph and the regenerator at bay. So you can see I'm sort of kiting the enemies around. I just got the call that the door was unlocked. I want to take out this necromorph because he was almost dead. I'm glad I did because he dropped a medium med pack. The regenerator I saw was regenerating in the back, so I just booked it. So now here we go. We're back in the elevator. We're heading back to the kind of the main hub of the area, where the store is. That big room was where we first came in. I was contemplating using a med pack there. Decided against it. I got 3 large and a medium on me. I'm going to stop by the store again, and I'm going to grab a... I'm going to sell off a few things and then grab a few power nodes and head back up the lift to the bench. And when I get there, I'm going to realize, oh, my guns are fully upgraded, my health and air is fully upgraded, and my stasis is fully upgraded. Well, I've got an extra power node, so I'm going to use it on my kinesis range. Something that you totally do not have to do. But I had the node, so I figured why not. So now we're going to come through this door. We're going to talk to Dr. Kine. And again, this is another long bit of dialogue and some explanation as to what's going on and what the next part of the game is going to be about. And you can't skip it, so you just kind of sit here, listen to him rant. There is a box on the left that you can grab, has some a item in it. But yeah, shows you a little video. Oh look, a hive mind. I bet I'm gonna have to fight that at some point, aren't I? So he's getting all frustrated, flustered, still talking. Boy, this guy's long-winded. Still waiting. Yep, he's pacing. Eventually, he's going to unlock the elevator next to you. Oh, I've got an idea, he says. There we go. I kind of looked at him and I rolled my eyes, but I felt like Isaac was rolling his eyes as well. So we're going to go up the elevator, go down this hallway with all the captains on the wall, and then this room, you can actually, you'll see I'm going to hang out right in the doorway here. There's 4 carrier forms here, so you do not want to go into that room. And again, like all carrier forms we fought to this point, you want to stasis them and then cut off their arms and their leg in one stasis blast. You don't want them to thaw out or unstasis while they're heavily damaged because they will spawn a flipper form. I screw up here and I actually have one of them spawn a flipper swarm at me. And while the carrier forms will not come through that doorway, you just saw them, they know I'm here, but they just keep running by it. So you can kind of use it as a check valve or a stop point for them. The flipper swarms will come in, and you'll see that in just a moment here. So I kind of just keep poking my head out, and he was going to come in as soon as I backed out over the threshold. He backed away. And here comes the flipper swarms. They have no qualms about coming through that doorway, so I switch to my pulse rifle and take them out as I see them. See the door close, so I know there's no more enemies nearby. Kind of poke my head out. I can see movement. Hit them with the stasis blast. If you have it, I decide to just play into them with the pulse rifle at this point because I don't have any stasis. So that was it. That was all 4 of them. Make sure you grab all of the items that they dropped or potentially dropped. And then we're going to go to each one of these 4 rooms and check for supplies. There are green boxes that can be broken. There are openable, or yeah, I guess openable would be the right word, boxes that have items. This one got me a little bit. I stomped it, and normally that kills all the flippers that are hiding inside, but for whatever reason, 2 of them escaped without dying. So beware of that. So this is room number 3. It's got an openable box, and that's about it. And then here's room number 4, and this one has an audio log from the captain, a ruby semiconductor next to the bed, and a wall safe. So I'm just kind of looking around for a minute, enjoying the scenery, and now we're going to advance. So looking around, making sure I'm going in the right direction. We're going to hit the wall safe, and this is kind of challenging, so we're going to save right here. There's a lot of stuff on the ground, so kind of do a loop. This is the shuttle that Kine was talking about. Kine, I can't remember. The guy who was ranting a few minutes ago. That's the shuttle he was talking about. So make your way around this on all the catwalks. Check the ground and for boxes and for items. Then go into the shuttle and install the chips that you found earlier in this level. And as soon as you come over to this control panel to test fire the engines, our friend the Regenerator is going to drop through that vent. Right there. You're going to see me stasis him, and one of the Tweaker, the Fast Necromorphs, is going to come through that vent in the ceiling. You can see at the top of the screen once you walk underneath it. So I walk underneath it to get him to spawn. I take him out, and then I was hoping that the Regenerator was going to be frozen enough that I could just run by him. I could see he was thawing out as I ran by him, so I just shoot him in the legs. I'm a little nervous he's going to come up behind me, so you can see I'm pushing into the door even though the door wasn't open yet. And now we come to this point. In this room, after you test fire the engine, you're going to get rushed by, I think it's 5 or 6 of these really fast necromorphs. And I found that the best thing you can do is come into the shuttle itself and use the doorway as a choke point. You can see they're running right into it, and unfortunately, I didn't think the Regenerator was going to make it here that fast, and he sort of gums up the works a little bit. Thankfully, only one enemy can come through there at a time, like you saw. So I had stasis one of the fast necromorphs, and it blocked the other ones. They can't pass through each other, which is nice. You can see I took him out here. The regenerator's up in the air, and it's like, his leg's blocking the way, so I try meleeing it, break it off. That doesn't work. I shoot it off. Still can't get through. I decide, well, he's thawing out. I'm going to shoot him in the arm just to get him to regenerate. I fall back a little bit, and I need him to follow me without attacking so I can get past him. And of course, another necromorph shows up right as the regenerator is regenerating, which is just inconvenient timing. So I hit him with the stasis blast. I saw that he took a step, and that's just enough room for me to sneak out. I recommend doing that. There's a ton of items out here now that you can grab. It wasn't a very clean run for me. I did take a couple of hits, so you can do it a lot more effectively, but that's why I keep med packs on me. One large med pack, and I'm fully healed. Alright, so now we've cleaned out all the enemies except the regenerator, and now we're finally going to say goodbye to this pesky enemy. What we're going to do is we're going to kite him around the ship. You could have just gone around the other way, gone around the front of the ship, but I decided to do it this way. Went around the back of the ship where the thrusters were, and then there's this kind of roundabout, and I just turn around and walk backwards. I kite him, see where he's at, make sure he doesn't get too close, and what I do is, for whatever reason, I must have done enough damage to just one-shot his leg off. I was hoping he was going to crawl after me, but decides to regenerate instead. And even though my stasis is upgraded, if you didn't have enough power nodes to upgrade your stasis, what I would recommend doing is, instead of just stasising him and trying to run for the test fire controls, or cutting his legs off and then trying to run for the test fire controls, do what I'm doing right now. Take out a leg, wait until he gets past that perforated metal onto the solid metal, because that's where the flames are. Cut off his legs and arms so he starts to regenerate, then hit him with the stasis blast. This will give you enough time to run in and hit this switch and basically barbecue him. And bye-bye, you annoying pain in the neck. It's very satisfying to watch him just slowly try to keep getting back up and cook. And he leaves you a nice power node behind. So then you can activate the decoupling clamps. Going back to the fight with the regenerator, again, if you didn't upgrade your stasis duration, chop off his legs when he's in the middle of that platform right behind the thrusters. Then when he's on the ground, take out his arms, then hit him with stasis right when he starts regenerating. What this will do is give you the entire time of your stasis, and then you have the additional time it takes him to regenerate before he will move, which should be more than enough time to hit that test fire button. So Klein got onto the spaceship, he took off with it, and we're going to backtrack back down into the room where we first talked to Klein in person through the glass, and he went through his long tirade. We have the good doctor here who's been causing us a bunch of trouble, who decided he wanted to become a necromorph. If you go into the room Klein was in where he did his rant, there's actually a large med pack, so I recommend you grab that. And as soon as we come out this door to where the bench is, you're going to see a transforming or an infecting flying bat unit thing, turning the doctor into a necromorph. And for whatever reason, when he spawned, I don't know if I chopped off his head while I was shooting at the transformer, the infector one, but he didn't have a head, so he was just kind of went into his berserk mode. Go over here, grab the items from him. You can see I got a lot of med packs on me. I turn around, go down the elevator. You can hit the store if you need to sell off any of your items. I know the next level has a lot of fighting in it, so and since all my stuff is maxed out, I don't need to buy any more power nodes. So instead, I buy a ton of pulse rifle ammo. And you're going to see that I'm going to actually check ammo here and then pull up my inventory just to check. Look at that. Plenty of med packs, ammo for both weapons. We are good to go. Head up to the tram, activate the switch, and you are done with Chapter 10. Up next is Chapter 11. Only 2 more to go, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, please like and subscribe. You can also check us out on Twitch at Hammer Bros Gaming. I am Blades of God, and until next time, have a great day everyone.